Today, we're tackling one of the most famous parts of British life, queuing. In this episode, we're going to talk about why queuing is such a big deal. We're going to talk about the unwritten rules that everyone is expected to follow and some of the classic situations where we queue. And of course, along the way, we're going to teach you at least 10 pieces of useful vocabulary. We say at least because it's a real conversation where anything can happen. Here's my dear friend Rob. Hello.
Bonjour.
Oh no,
Beat that.
you've done me again. Hola. I'm gonna do hola next time. Let's do around the world. Anybody
Yeah.
who doesn't know, we have a bit of a competition about hello. How are you today?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Yes, I've been waiting orderly in a queue to join
Ooh,
this podcast.
very, very nice. Very, very nice. So, queuing. It's a funny word. Let's just address
Mm,
that first of all. Queue is
mm.
Queue when it could just be the letter Q, to be honest. But it looks like Queue, but it is queue, and it can be a verb or a noun. To queue means to stand in a queue,
Yeah.
and queue is the thing, the line of people. The Americans, I believe, are more common. They more commonly use the word line, stand in a line. We sometimes do that, but queue is very much a British thing and a British word, and we love it. Why? Why do we love it?
This is the $1,000,000 question, I think. Why do we like to queue? It's true though, we do queue. We do queue for everything. We never, well, generally, we'll get onto this. Generally speaking, we don't jump the queue or anything like that. We stand in a line and wait our turn.
We do, we do, and you use some vocabulary that we're going to talk about later on in the lesson there. But yeah, the queue is it's a weird thing to explain, and I've got a feeling that it's about this idea of fairness,
Mm.
which is a core principle of British culture. This idea of fairness, equality, and kind of uh, not trying to take advantage and be seen to be taken advantage, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like this idea of you're standing in line, it's organized.
Mm.
I once read a book, a brilliant book. It's called Watching the English by Kate Fox.
Mm.
The amount of times I mention this book, I think I need to take royalties these days. But commission. But she once wrote that if a British person is at a bus stop, and there's nobody else there, that British person will form an orderly queue of one. I think it's now I'm doubting. Is it Kate Fox? I don't know, but either way,
It's true though.
orderly
It's
basically
true.
means organized, and this is a key piece of vocabulary. Orderly, organized, and kind of with order, and things like that. And do you know what? That's really true. The bus
Mm.
stop thing. Do you go to where where the timetable is and things like this, or do you stand anywhere if it's just
Yeah.
you?
No, I stand near the bus stop, the post where the bus stops at. Yeah, and wait there and start a queue. Hopefully, people will then queue behind me. If they. So the funny thing is, I find that I'll queue anywhere. If you're outside a shop and there's a queue forming, I'll
Yeah.
think, oh, I'll join this line and see what's happening. Maybe there's a celebrity in the store, or maybe they're giving out some freebies, some free promotional items or something like that. I'll join the queue. I won't just push in. I won't just go and, walk in the shop. I'll join the queue and see what happens. Can't
So
resist it.
there is a whole thing, the social experiments about basically people seeing queues in the UK and they stand in it without knowing what's at the front of it, like you just said. It's a weird one. He used another key piece of vocabulary there, which is push in. To
Mm,
push in is where we kind of force our way into the queue, not at the back. So queue
yeah,
etiquette. If you see a queue or a line of people, you should go to the back.
yeah,
And normally you would ask, sorry, is this the end of the queue? Sorry, is this
yeah.
the end of the queue? Or are you in the queue? If there's somebody kind of loitering is a
Mm,
brilliant word, like sort of hanging around without looking like they're doing, not sure what they're doing exactly. You could say to that person, "Are you in the queue?" Because you don't
yes,
want to push in.
yes.
But going back to what you said about the bus stop, you said something fascinating for me. You said you form a queue hoping somebody will join you or thinking potentially somebody will join you. Why? Do you think it's fear that if you don't form that orderly queue of one person at the start, that somebody will jump in front of you? Or do you think it's more, I want to be organized, and why?
Well, I guess it's this inbuilt nature to form a queue, but there is also that aspect of I don't want to miss my place on the bus, and it's almost like planting a flag and saying, "Look, I was here first, so I'm first on the bus. This is my place." Interestingly, I mean, bus stops are a little bit different sometimes. When people are waiting for a bus, they sort of sometimes hang around, don't they? But what I have noticed, when the bus turns up, people then get into their place. They don't all
But
rush onto the bus. They still form a line when the bus turns up.
I would say they're very much, yeah, that can happen, but I'd say they're very much within the vicinity of the bus shelter, which is the thing
Mm,
that usually covers the thing. They're not far away. I've been to some places, and people are all over the place, and then they
yes.
kind of just run when the bus comes, and I'm just thinking it would be so much more efficient to be in a queue.
Yes.
And and I panic when I go to some places because I'm like, oh my goodness, all these people could be in a vague queue, but I'm going to the front, and I don't want to jump or push in.
No. Exactly.
And I find that, yeah, I find that
I,
that's
I I
when I
have to say, I'm quite proud of the British queue. I'm glad we queue because I've been to other places, like in India, for example. I've tried to queue up to get a train ticket at a railway station, and people just all squeeze around the window to buy a ticket. I think,
yeah.
how can this system work? I mean, to be
Well, it's just
fair,
different
it
cultures,
does
and
work. It does
yeah,
work, but I just think it's not right. Everyone just squeezing around one window to try and buy a train ticket.
and that I would say is, yeah, it can be an issue because that's the queuing thing is when I realized that, oh my goodness, I really am British
Mm,
at times, and like and like you say, this is the thing that I always say to people that travel. If you move somewhere or you live somewhere, then you have to kind of accept or almost run to a new code because there are different things that are acceptable or unacceptable. And it's the same as if people come here. We're very indirect apparently, and that can be frustrating for some. But the
mm,
thing is, the same way if you go to a nightclub, or some people say disco, we call them nightclubs in the UK. You wouldn't behave the same way in the nightclub as you would in the supermarket. So
mm,
this is something I always say. Yeah, and it can be the thing. But coming back to the UK, I think most people, I think it is a bit of fear of losing your place.
mm.
Of course, some people do jump the queue. This is
Oh,
when they, again, pushing in is more this kind of physical feeling of moving into a queue, whereas jump the queue is go ahead of your place.
yeah,
So it's a similar idea, but it's basically like trying to skip ahead without waiting to jump the queue.
yeah.
Awful, awful
It
in
is
the UK.
awful.
It's like a sin, isn't it? It's
And how do we react? Do we get angry? Do we have a fight? What goes
no,
on?
of course not.
That's the thing.
We
That,
passive aggressively tut.
yes.
We So this is another key piece of vocabulary: tutting. This noise that we make when we're angry, frustrated, or unpleased with somebody's actions. And perhaps you could tut for us, Rob.
I'd love to. Here we go. With a head
Head
gesture.
up, like
Yeah.
this. A lot of cultures tut. I would say we've weaponized it a little bit. It's something interesting because I said about this to my wife, and my wife sort of said, "Yeah, a lot of cultures tut, but the way British people do it, there is a real passive aggressiveness behind it.
Mm,
Like it is pure venom, to be honest,
mm.
and it's almost looking for support from your fellow people in the
Yeah.
queue,
Yeah.
queuers.
That's right.
Like you're like,
Yeah.
and British people are quite reserved. This is a word. Reserved is like sort of almost conservative, like not showing too much emotion and things like this. So tutting is like a kind of outburst of frustration.
Yeah.
If you hear a tut, how do you feel?
If you hear a tut,
Yeah, if you've done
well,
something that deserves a tut.
it depends who you are. If you're the person who's jumped in the queue, pushed in the line, then you don't hear it, do you? You're oblivious to it. But if you're a fellow, I say a fellow queuer hears a tut, you might join in, of course.
Yeah.
Might
Oh, yeah.
just nod back, give a sort of
Yeah.
facial recognition, go, yeah, and tut
Maybe a bit
back.
of a noise like.
Yeah. And you may complain to each other quietly, but you won't moan or complain to the person who's pushed in. That's the thing. The person who's jumped the line, is oblivious to it all and carries on.
Yeah. If I realise I've accidentally done something wrong and somebody tuts, I immediately whip round and say, "I'm sorry." "Oh, sorry.
Mm,
Is it oh, sorry. Is this a cue?" I didn't realise." And it usually sort of de-escalates the situation instantly. Tutting
mm,
is a great kind of way of sort of saying, "You have broken the societal norms. You've done something like this." We do have a culture of saying sorry. Sorry doesn't always mean sorry in the
yeah,
UK. We need to be very careful with that one, but we do, instantly just say sorry.
yeah,
If you feel that you may have, sorry, is this, the queue's here. And you almost have this like kind of, business.
yeah.
How do you feel if somebody does say something? Excuse me, there's a queue. I think,
Mm.
I think normally it's not really aggressive. It would be, oh, excuse me, sorry, there's a queue. It's very matter of fact. And that's expected to do that. I think normally, if somebody got aggressive, ironically enough, the tutting would then go to that person because somebody's like, "Hey, mate, go, hey, get to the back of the queue. This is ridiculous. I've been waiting here for hours." It's jumping too far ahead
Mm.
in terms of aggression. I'd say tut first, maybe. Oh, sorry, excuse me. There's a
Mm.
queue, and if they don't do the right thing, yeah.
Maybe,
But
yes, yes.
but I
It's funny
find this.
again. We're apologising for somebody else's mistake, aren't we? I'm sorry. I think you've jumped the queue. Why are
Yeah,
we
it's like I'm
saying
sorry to
sorry?
bother you, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah.
Some sometimes as well though, we do let people go in front of us.
Mm.
Um, for example, supermarkets. We'll talk about where we typically queue in a minute, which is pretty
Mm.
much everywhere.
Yeah.
But in supermarkets, maybe there's a sort of an older person.
Mm.
Maybe there's somebody with one item.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got about a big, shopping trolley full of things, and then somebody comes behind you. They've got one drink, and you
Mm.
say, "Oh, would you like to go? Would you like to go first? Would
Yeah.
you like to go first? Would you like to go ahead? Would you like to go first?" It's kind of a
Yeah.
polite thing to do. I wouldn't do
Yeah.
it for somebody who also had a trolley.
No, no,
Um,
but you read the
and
situation. Don't look at the situation. Again, at a railway station, for example, if someone's about to catch a train and they're desperate to buy the ticket because their train is about to leave, you might want to say, "Oh, would you like to go in front,
yeah,
get your ticket so you can catch your train?" That's a very polite thing to do. But you have to be, somebody has to offer that position rather than somebody.
yes,
Don't assume you can just push in. You
you
either
should
ask
take it.
or wait till somebody offers and says, "Would you like to go in front?" Yeah.
Yeah. A common way of saying this is after you, especially
Yeah.
if you're like, we use this a lot, maybe even at a door. If we open the door, we'll say, "Oh, after you." Um, it means you go first. If you're at a queue, you've been queuing for something, and somebody's here, and you go, "No, after you." Maybe you're both in kind of an equal position in the queue, or you're
Yeah.
roundabout. You could just say, "Oh, after you." Yeah, I wouldn't do it if it's somebody going ahead of me in the queue. I'd say, "Oh, would you like to go first?" But it's more about like, I'll go second to you after you, usually through a door or something like this. But it does work in a queue
Yeah.
as well. We'll talk in a minute where we do sort of queuing, where we queue. But I'm going to say not everybody in the UK loves queuing. Of course not. It is a kind of societal expectation that people do, but
Yes.
not everybody does it. Some people do jump the queue. Some people push in, and it can be seen as pretty rude.
Mm.
Others, if there is a queue, they'll try to sneak in. You
Mm.
could say sneak in the queue, but some people just try to sneak in the entrance. Sneak is where we kind of very discreetly try to enter somewhere to sneak in, or sneak is when we try to move without being observed. So some people try to sneak in without queuing,
Yes.
uh, and if they're caught, lots of tutting. Oof,
Lots of tutting. Hopefully, they're sent
awful.
to the back of the queue, um, and told to
Yeah,
get
like a
back.
naughty child.
Yes. But the other issue I have, sometimes you go to somewhere and there are three, they've formed three queues to get in somewhere or to do something. And there's that game of being in the right queue, the
Oh
quickest
yeah,
quickest moving queue. So you get in one queue, you're all queuing for the same thing, but you've been split into three lines. You get into one line, and then that line moves more quickly, and you go, "Oh, no, I want to be in that line," and you go back and forth to different lines, hoping to get
some
somewhere
do.
quickly.
Yeah, I think usually people are gonna end up spending more time going back and forth than they do actually in the queue.
Mm.
But you're right. Yeah, sometimes there's 2 or 3 queues for 2 cash points. Like you've got a place where you're going to get money out of the wall, and there's 3 or 4 lines going into 2 places. You're like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Um, that's best to just ask or
Mm.
go somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fundamental policy of the not policy, but the idea behind it is wait your turn.
Mm.
Wait your turn. To wait one's turn basically means wait for it to be your time to do something.
Yes. Yes.
That's a key piece of vocabulary to wait your turn.
Yeah.
Um,
Take your
you know,
place. Take your place in the line in the queue,
yeah.
and yeah, as you say, wait your turn. But where do we queue? Let's talk about where we queue, shall we?
Yes, everywhere. I don't know anywhere we don't queue. So bus stops we've mentioned. Let's take it in turns. Bus stops. We queue at bus stops. We form a line. Where
Mm.
else?
Supermarkets at the checkouts, we
Yep.
form an orderly line there.
Yep. Uh, Petrol stations. This is
Hmm.
I've just gone a bit curveball. In a car, we will sort of put our cars into queues. So to queue for the actual petrol pump where
Yeah,
we fill up.
yeah.
It's not seen as
Um,
really rude to drive in, unless you've got maybe a tank.
and then, of course, tickets. Anything where you're buying a ticket, whether it's a station, bus station, or a music event. If you're queuing up,
Yep.
although here we actually talking about music events, we tend to buy tickets online, and then there's a queue system there, isn't there, online when you're buying
Yep.
things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. There is, and that's another thing, isn't it? You have an online queue,
mm,
and sometimes we call it, and even to the point where doctors' surgeries. Maybe you go to the GPs and you get referred to the hospital. You get put on a waiting list, and that's a form of queuing as well.
mm,
Uh, we also do it when we're on the phones. We wait. There's like a queue for
yeah.
your call is 52. It's like so. It's not always that we refer to. We usually use the word waiting times, waiting list. We'll talk about waiting times in a minute. Waiting list or kind of thing, but it's a form of queuing that British
Mm,
people have just come to accept. I suppose
yes.
that would go to most. Um, Theme
Also,
parks.
this is the kind of the what do you say the pinnacle of queuing. If you go to
Yes.
a theme park, because yes, you have to queue, but usually you have to queue for hours and hours to go on a
Yeah.
ride. You wait for the ride, you go on the ride. The ride takes about 1 minute, doesn't it, to do the ride?
Yeah. We talk about waiting time then. What is
Mm,
the amount of time you need to wait in the queue to get to where you got to go to?
mm,
So sometimes we do talk about the waiting time. We wouldn't talk about it at a bus stop because you've got a timetable, but
yeah.
where you're queuing maybe or waiting for an operation, we maybe talk about waiting time. Amusement, theme parks, we talk about waiting time. Of course,
At theme park,
many theme parks.
at theme parks, you can cheat at a theme park a bit. Well, not
Yeah.
cheat, but it's official. You can buy a jump the queue pass, can't you? You can pay
Yes.
to not have to queue up or not have to queue up as much and join a
Yes.
fast track queue.
And so for some people who have like disabilities or um, neurodivergent families, so like maybe there's neurodivergent, you can
Mm,
actually get the pass as well to help
mm,
because some people physically can't or mentally can't wait in a queue, and therefore uh, there are options as well. Some theme parks, in my experience, I don't know about all, but this kind of the queuing thing, where it's everywhere, even in London, in on the tube, there is not necessarily queuing but there's this kind of structure of organization. We can do a whole
mm,
lesson on tube etiquette, but when the doors open, people stand to one side and almost queue again, although that can be a bit more of a free for all at the end. But they move to one side so the people can get off and then they get on. And again, it's almost forming a line down the side of the tube. It
mm.
can be a bit more. There's a bit more pushing sometimes there.
There is,
Um,
because it's very crowded, isn't it? You're right,
yeah.
but even there, often you tend to let the person that you've noticed has been waiting on the platform for longer to get on first. If you're at the back of the platform, I find you don't just push forward and get on first. You tend to think, well, that person's been standing there longer. I'll kind of let them get onto the train first, unless it's really crowded and you just have to get on.
We we haven't talked about we haven't talked about queuing at the pub either.
Oh,
Sometimes as well when a new toy and every kid is desperate for it, or there's a new something new is coming out. It's not as common as it once was because a lot more things are digital these days. But people would queue outside of the shop
Mm.
till the shop to open. I remember when Harry Potter, there was a new Harry Potter book. People would sleep overnight to wait for the bookshop to open in the morning, so they could be one of the first to open this new book.
Yes.
And the pub as well. I used to work in a pub many moons ago. Many moons ago means a long time.
Yeah.
And in the morning, when you open the doors, you would get some of the regulars queuing outside, ready for the
Mm.
first pint.
Yes.
So you'd open the doors and they'd come in, but still queuing. They were queuing. They were waiting it up. They weren't huddled round the door, like huddled is when we're all close and like this. They were in a line and they'd go one
Yeah.
by one straight to the bar. And the bar has its own queuing system, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Interestingly, British pubs, people don't form a line to buy a drink,
No,
do they? Although sometimes they do, I suppose. But yeah, people
sometimes.
still, everyone sort of stands at the bar, but there's still a structure, there's still a place
Yeah,
where people get
the idea of
served. The person who's
fairness
there,
again.
yeah, fairness. So somebody who's been there the longest will get served first, you know.
First, yeah, and they stand along the bar, and quite commonly they'll say the person behind the bar who's working will say, "Who's next, please?" If they don't know,
Yeah.
because that's quite it's safer for them if they pick the wrong person. Somebody else could get upset. So they
Mm.
say, "Who's next?" And then you go, "Oh, I think it's me. Is it me? Yeah, yeah." It's you." And you usually have this kind of again, there's a feeling of almost camaraderie, this closeness, this connection in a queue.
Mm.
I think this is one thing we kind of bond almost. Like, oh no, it's you after you. No, come on, no, please, please. Nobody wants to be seen to be jumping the queue.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, some people will, but that's part of life. We get that everywhere. We've
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about queuing. I didn't realize there was this much to talk about
Yes.
queuing, or indeed how excited I was about queuing.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you, everyone out there who's listened to us today talking about queuing. If you have any questions, please do let us know. And if you want to support this podcast, you could buy Rob or myself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. He seems to like coffee today. You
Mm.
could buy us a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for listening. And Rob, thank you for joining me and talking about queuing.
It's been great. I think we could do another one on queuing, actually.
Definitely. Definitely. But you better wait for that one. You better wait your turn.
Oh, yeah. I'll wait in line. Thank you, Roy. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.